Welcome to Medicine, Motherhood, and Missions, the podcast where we dive deep into impactful and inspiring conversations with amazing professionals who've turned their challenges into stepping stones for success. I'm Johanna, your host, and each time we meet, we'll explore the stories and journeys of remarkable individuals who are PAs, doctors, professionals, mothers, and mission-driven changemakers, from the halls of the hospitals to the hearts of our homes, and into the communities we serve. Join us as we uncover the challenges, triumphs, and everything in between, and see life through each other's perspective. If you're seeking fulfillment in your career and life, I've got something special for you too. Download our free guide on how to be a fulfilled provider. It's packed with tips and insights to help you thrive while balancing the many hats you wear. And for all those parents out there dreaming big while raising little ones, check out Little Evie's Big Dreams children's book series, available now on Amazon. These heartwarming stories inspire kids to chase their own dreams, just like you're chasing yours. So grab your favorite cup of coffee or tea, settle in, and get ready for uplifting conversations that will leave you inspired and equipped to make a greater impact. Let's jump in. I'm really excited. Today we have Kat. She's been a PA for 10 years, initially starting her career in family medicine. But after getting burnt to a crisp during the pandemic, she switched specialties to outpatient psychiatry. She now enjoys practicing part-time as a telepsych PA contractor through an integrative mental health clinic. Kat also hosts the PA the FI Way podcast, where she shares about how pursuing financial independence can help with treating and preventing burnout, while encouraging PAs to become work optional sooner than the traditional retirement age. She is also the head coach of the WealthRx program, which helps PAs become PA millionaires in 5 to 10 years. When she's not being a homebody, you can find her ice fishing in the middle of a frozen lake in Minnesota during the winter, or spending time at her in-laws' cabin in the summer, or exploring new places any time of the year. I'm so excited to have with us today Katarina. She is the founder of the PA, the FI Way podcast, and she is the head coach at WealthRx. She has done amazing things, including starting her own telepractice, of psychiatry telepractice. And I'm just really excited about the conversation that we're going to be having with Katarina today. And thank you so much, Katarina, for joining us. Thank you for taking the time to come on the Medicine, Motherhood, and Missions podcast. I appreciate it greatly.
Yeah, I really appreciate you having me on your show, Johanna. I'm really excited to talk about the topics that we have planned for today.
Yeah. So let's start off with tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do for fun.
Sure. So I've been practicing as a PA for a whole decade now, which is absolutely crazy to think about. And I started my career in family medicine. I was starting to notice some symptoms of burnout before the pandemic actually hit. And I believe a lot of that came down to the fact that I like to be a very thorough type of clinician, but also very efficient and stay on time. And those two things are very challenging to do in family medicine. Then the pandemic hit and I got absolutely burnt to a crisp. So I started exploring other specialties. I had a friend who I met in PA school who worked in psychiatry, and she encouraged me to consider that as a specialty. And the rest is history. I transitioned to outpatient psychiatry. And then because that transition happened with the pandemic, we were seeing most of our patients through telemedicine. And I grew to love telemedicine. And I decided that I wanted to find a fully remote telepsych position, which is where I've been practicing for about 2 years now, ever since. And I've really enjoyed it. As you mentioned, I also host the PA, the FI Way podcast, where I help spread financial literacy to PAs and other providers out there, and really try to empower PAs to understand and manage their own finances, to take control of their futures. And I also am the head coach with the WealthRx program that we'll talk about a little bit later. And for fun, I would say I like to hang out with my family, those close to me, have some nieces and nephew. It's really fun to hang out with them and watch them grow up over the years. We do a lot of fishing, both summer fishing as well as ice fishing. And then we spend time at our in-laws cabin and do lots of water activities up there, some camping, and then exploring our beautiful country that we live in, but also many countries abroad too. I like to travel a lot.
Yeah. Wow, that's so fun. A lot of outdoor activities, and ice fishing is so unique because I do remember you saying how um, you weren't sure how fun it would be, and then you have come to enjoy it.
Yes, yes. Growing up, I've been born and raised in Minnesota, where I
Uh-huh.
still live with my husband.
Mhm.
I did not really enjoy winter. And in Minnesota, winter can last for 6 months some years, So
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of hobbies. I tore my ACL my first and last time skiing. At least
Oh my
I learned
goodness.
about the PA profession during that experience. And that's how I became a PA. But
Oh
then
wow.
my husband at the time when we were dating, he dragged me out
Mhm.
onto the ice. And I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. And now we spend a lot of our weekends do a lot of ice fishing over the winter.
That's really neat. That's something I've never done, but I'd like to try it once. I'd like to try it
Yeah.
once.
If you're ever up in Minnesota this time of year, we're happy to take you out sometime.
That would be awesome. And so you mentioned an injury helped you learn about the PA program. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. I was a teenager at the time. I believe I was
Uh-huh.
14. I might have been 13.
Okay.
And our youth group at church actually was going
Uh-huh.
on a skiing activity as a youth
Okay.
group. And
Yeah.
I've never been skiing before. And my mom
Even though
said,
you lived in Minnesota?
correct. Yep. I was not a winter person and just didn't enjoy the cold, fell all the time ice skating. It was not my thing. And my mom encouraged me and she said, "Oh, Kat, go have fun with your friends. You'll
Yeah.
enjoy it. Go have fun." So
Right.
I tease her that I blame her for this injury, right? So we go skiing and
Uh-huh.
it was the last run of the day, of course.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't on a bunny hill, it was a little bit harder than a bunny hill. And my friend said, "Okay, one more run." I said,
Mm-hmm.
"Okay." And
Yeah.
what had happened was my boots were too tight. And so they had to
Oh.
adjust the bindings, but
Uh-huh.
no one told me that I also had to adjust the bindings to be looser when I got a bigger size pair of boots. So
Uh-huh.
when I fell, the skis did not pop off. And so
Oh.
I was rolling down the hill,
Oh
twisting
my
the knee and totally
goodness.
tore my ACL. And I
Oh
was
my
so
gosh.
stubborn at the
Yeah.
time. The ski patrol came out on the hill and offered me a ride back to the lodge. And for some reason, the guy kind of creeped me out. So I declined. And I walked the whole way back to the lodge by myself on a fully torn
Oh
ACL.
my goodness. Wow. Well, talk about strength and tolerance of pain.
Yes, yes. But then in the ER, the
Uh-huh.
provider who saw me was a PA, and my mom
Uh-huh.
tucked that in the back of her mind when I was thinking about the healthcare industry, the healthcare
Uh-huh.
field. She mentioned PA, and we looked into it, and it seemed to be the best fit for me.
Wow, that's awesome. So actually you should thank your mom.
Right? I know, I know. It's true. There are so many
Yeah.
things that happen for good when there are some trials. I understand that.
That is so true, though. So, what compelled you? Well, I guess back up because you said you were starting to get burned out. And I 100% agree with you. I think as PAs or health professionals, we do try to do effective, efficient, and, incredible care as much as we can, which can definitely lead to burnout. But how exactly did that burnout, start and lead you to that next step
Sure.
in your journey?
I remember at the time before the pandemic hit
Mhm.
where I was only working 4 days a week. I was working still full time, so 4 10-hour days. And it
Mhm.
was only 4 days a week, which I love working as few days during the week as possible. And I
Yeah.
really enjoyed that, but I still kept thinking, man, these 10-hour days, they're really turning into 11-hour
Mhm.
days quite often,
Right.
sometimes longer.
Mhm.
And I kept thinking, how in the world am I going to do this until traditional retirement age? I kept thinking, there's no way I can physically and
Yeah.
mentally do this and
Uh-huh.
continue to try to be happy myself. It was just very
Mhm.
draining overall. So,
Yeah.
definitely low energy, draining,
Mhm.
mental thought processes of how am I going to do this? And I
Yeah.
actually had started looking into how our organization had started doing some telemedicine in family
Okay.
medicine before the pandemic even hit. So I was
Okay.
considering implementing that into some of my days to try to help break up some of the visits that I was having because they tended to be more focused problems, more
Mhm.
shorter visits overall.
Mhm.
And then we got hit with the pandemic. So we got forced into telemedicine. And again, I really learned how to
Mhm.
enjoy it overall with that. So it
Yeah.
was with the pandemic and being forced into telemedicine,
Uh-huh.
although we had our hours cut forcefully with that,
Mm.
that part was challenging again a bit
Yeah.
financially, but just
Right.
challenging overall. It still
Mhm.
felt so draining to be
Yeah.
working in the pandemic. And I remember going on some walks with an NP and an MD
Uh-huh.
colleague, and they were both really great. And we would go walks during the day to try to help have a little bit of venting sessions and help support each other a little bit during that hard time. So
Yeah.
that was how it was for me during the pandemic.
Okay. And so starting that telemedicine, first of all, like how did you feel about the shift into telemedicine? Because you were thinking about it before, and you did you feel like patient care? How did that change for you in that regard? Just to touch on that real quick.
Yeah, great. What I learned was that there are many types of visits that can be helped with telemedicine. At the
Mm-hmm.
same time, you also learn and understand that bedside, tableside, in
Uh-huh.
clinic medicine or in hospital medicine definitely
Mm-hmm.
has a role for sure.
For
Telemedicine
sure.
can't replace all of medicine by any means. You still need to
Mm-hmm.
take a look and listen, even though they do have remote otoscopes and remote stethoscopes at some
Yeah.
clinics now for remote providers.
Uh-huh.
You do need to be able to palpate often too and truly have that in person connection for a lot of visits.
Mm-hmm.
So I really enjoy learning about how telemedicine can have a place in many areas of medicine, not
Mm-hmm.
just family medicine, not just urgent care,
Mm-hmm.
and not just mental health, but lots of places can utilize a form of telemedicine with their
Mm-hmm.
different specialties. So that was really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It was very challenging to be forced into telemedicine over the course of about 2 weeks. We were
Right.
running
Oh
full
yeah.
days of in-person visits, and then all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden our clinic and clinics within the organization were shut
Right.
down, and then it
Yeah.
was okay, telemedicine as much as possible,
Yeah.
and if not, have them come in if absolutely needed. And then we did some of the COVID swabbing through the drive-through type of setups at some
Yes, I
clinics too.
remember.
So it
Mhm.
was good times.
I know. Oh my goodness, yeah. So I had just gone on maternity leave in the beginning of that, year, and then went back to work in the middle of it, but it was in the hospital, so
Oh, wow.
there was no option for telemedicine there.
Yeah. Yes, for sure.
But yeah, it was pretty crazy. Um, so I mean, you mentioned burnout led you to starting the PA, the FI way. How did that happen?
Yeah. Because I was in this state of burnout, I started
Mhm.
trying to figure out what to do to help. And how I learned about financial independence was through a PA colleague's husband who was telling me about how they utilize credit card rewards points for travel hacking and to
Mhm.
earn free travel. So that they sent
Right.
me some episodes on the Choose FI podcast, which is a
Mhm.
big financial independence podcast.
Mhm.
And I kept hearing them talk about financial independence in the background. And I decided to go back and listen to some of their other episodes. And I thought, this is so true. This information of what they're telling, they don't teach us at all growing up
Mhm.
in high school, undergrad, PA school. We don't
Yeah.
learn any of this information about how you don't
Mhm.
have to work until traditional retirement age if you
Mhm.
don't want to. And if you're able to set yourself up earlier in your career, you
Mhm.
still can do it later, but it's ideal if you have more years to be able to implement this.
Yeah.
And with the financial independence topic, that leads you down the rabbit hole of how there are a few physicians that talk about it, such as the white coat investor
Mhm.
and things like that. But I didn't find anyone speaking directly to PAs at the time.
Mhm.
So I wanted to launch the podcast to share more information for PAs. And it's really interesting because I many people who know me say that I would be the last person that they would think of to launch a podcast, which is true. Reflecting back, I'm definitely more introverted side and not someone who would necessarily put themselves out there online or social media or things like that. So it was definitely a step to take. And I found that managing my finances really empowered me to be able to transition to a role that allowed me to have Fridays off. And now I have Thursdays and Fridays off in another role. Again, cut back clinically to only working 3 days a week because of making those smart financial decisions, paying off debt, investing aggressively, understanding that if we're wise with our financial decisions, don't have to work quite as much to keep up with the rat race and keep up with the Jones overall. So when I transitioned to telepsych with my current role, I took a significant pay cut initially because I'm an independent contractor with an integrative mental health clinic. And with that transition, I'm compensated on a percentage of collections, which means if I'm not seeing patients, I'm not getting paid. So that initial first several months was quite challenging financially, but we were still able to manage it because of the decisions that we had made. If we had been living paycheck to paycheck and barely squeaking by, I would not have been able to do that transition as well. So on my show too, I absolutely love having other PAs on my show as well as other clinicians where they share about their financial independence stories and also about their stories of what they're doing overall and amazing things, because those stories are really what connect us and encourage us as a community.
Yeah. That's so important. And I like how, people were like, you're the most unlikely person to start the podcast. But if you have the information and the experience and the knowledge, then that's the main thing, right? And sometimes the personality or our feelings of the, maybe that we're more introverted, like me, I am the same way, we have this desire though to help others, and that desire to share what we feel would be beneficial, which hopefully, and as in your case, is making a difference in a lot of people's lives. And so that's pretty cool. And I totally understand. And the importance of that too, because I also switched over to a 1099 role. And, it was the same thing. The first several months, you don't really make as much because you're not seeing patients or, you're building up the patients. And so if you don't have good financial ways and health in regards to that, then you're going to be in trouble. So it's definitely wise to make good financial decisions. And that's kind of why I loved having you here on the podcast to, share exactly how can you, develop those strengths, develop those ways to be able to make do, months at a time when you're starting new businesses, starting new adventures and ventures that will be successful, but it takes time to get there. And, how do you make those decisions? And how did you become a finance coach, and how did it lead you to WealthRx?
Yeah, I would say that what empowered me to be able to make that decision of going from a steady W-2 role over to a 1099 role of who knows what the income's going to look like, and understanding that takes time to build the patient panel and having to learn a little bit more marketing with that and figure out how to share that there are now med providers at the clinic, because my friend and I did the transition over to that clinic together as well. What helped with that was looking at our finances and making sure that we were not overspending every single month, making sure that we weren't adding on more and more debt, making sure that we had been investing aggressively, that felt confident so that we have those investments to be able to grow for years to come as well. And then also ideally having a decent type of savings, basically an emergency fund as you transition over with that step. And for some, that can be as little as a few weeks. For others, that might be a few months or even longer, depending upon what they need for that transition. to be
Right.
able to manage as a household.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some people, if they're single, if they have really low costs, really low rent, or potentially even still live with their parents, they have very few financial obligations. So
Mm-hmm.
that could be a great time to consider some of those
Yeah.
changes. Whereas some people who have maybe a more hefty mortgage, several
Mm-hmm.
kids, daycare costs can be through
Yeah.
the roof for a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people. That
Yeah.
can be more challenging. So
Yeah.
you do need to evaluate the situation that you're in,
Mm-hmm.
have a little bit of faith as well with that transition too,
Yeah.
and have understand that fear is super common,
Mm-hmm.
but have the confidence to make those changes and go forward as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is a fearful step to make changes that affect your financial future, even if in a short time. And
Yeah,
so it's hard to, and that's why I think people also sometimes aren't making changes into their dreams, into the things they really want to pursue, because those things hold them back. I mean, it's practical
totally.
issues, but it is, as you said, you have to kind of look in and step by step implement those changes without actually implementing the changes. How
Yeah,
can you make the actual bigger change, right?
for sure, for sure. And then going back to how did I get into the WealthRx program and working as
Mm-hmm.
the head coach? So I had
Yeah.
connected through social media with someone named Sammy No, and she
Mm-hmm.
is APA as well. And we
Yeah.
actually met up in person for the first time at AAPA in 2022.
Uh-huh.
And that summer after the PA conference, I was about to work on my own financial independence course and start promoting it, launching it,
Yeah.
those types of things too. And after meeting, she talked about a vision that she had as well. And
Mm-hmm.
we talked about collaborating on a project. So we've actually been collaborating for about 2.5 years now, working on
Yeah.
different things. Our WealthRx program launched
Mm-hmm.
just over a year ago.
Oh,
We
wow.
just had our year anniversary, which
Uh-huh.
has been amazing to see that we've been able to help a lot of PAs as well.
Yeah. That's really amazing how you guys are doing really amazing things, just stepping out of your comfort zones, you know, leaving the traditional pathways that we think are the most successful ways, but flipping the script and totally doing these things that are really making a difference in so many people's lives. Because we're so used to traditional ways of thinking of that this is the pathway to success. I completed PA school. I did it. I'm a PA. I'm graduated. I'm working, getting my paycheck. This is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to
Yeah.
do. And then you're realizing that, actually there might be a better way.
Yes, yes, we find that that's so common.
Hmm.
People from middle school, high school, somewhere in there, all
Hmm.
throughout undergrad and then PA school, they always have a plan for the next part of their life.
Yeah.
So once PAs start practicing medicine and they're
Hmm.
realizing maybe it isn't quite the vision that they had, and
Uh-huh.
healthcare systems in general can be challenging.
Yeah.
Our medical industry has lots of challenges and it's not
Hmm.
really what they thought it was going to be. That
Yeah.
can lead to a lot of discontentment
Hmm.
and dissatisfaction with their life,
Hmm.
and realizing again that feeling often of feeling stuck, especially when they have over 6 figures of student loan debt and thinking
Hmm.
that they have to work until traditional retirement age. So we get
Yeah.
so many people that so much feel stuck with their PA career and don't know what is next for them.
Yeah.
And we do have part of our program where we work on them figuring out what their future self looks like so that
Mhm.
they can have, again, another goal, another step to work towards because they're so used to doing that for so many years.
Yeah. It's a mindset shift, right?
Yep.
Trying to figure out how do I make those changes and what do I really want for my future, right?
Yes.
And do I want it to look the same or different?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Um, so that's really cool. So that's kind of what Wealth RX is kind of helping people understand what they want out of life, what they want to make changes with, and how to actually implement those changes in their financial um, health and kind of hopefully live a more kind of enriched life, or
Yeah,
what would
great,
be the end goal
great
that you're
question.
hoping? Mhm,
We help PAs become PA millionaires. And
mhm,
most of the time, that can be done within 5 to 10 years. And we work with people on money, mindset, and medicine. So the PAs that
mhm,
we work with, we originally were focused mostly on money, mostly on finances, but we
mhm,
realized that much of that can be understood and implemented within only a couple to a few months. So now we have shifted more so to addressing mindset as well.
mhm,
And then the medicine part that we help our PAs with is really optimizing their medical career, meaning making sure they understand how to review contracts,
mhm,
negotiate roles for what they want, the benefits and the pay that they want, and building leadership skills so that they can lead their team, whether it's MAs, nurses, other healthcare team members, so that they can work an efficient day, get done on time, not have to
yeah,
carry work home for them. Because
mhm,
if you're burnt out and stressed in medicine, then
mhm,
you don't really feel like you have a lot of time to work on your finances and work on the
mhm.
changes that need to be done with your mindset. So it started mostly as a finance program, and we've definitely shifted to tackling a lot of mindset issues with our members that we work with.
Yeah, a lifestyle change. That's interesting. Um, and yeah, that's exactly kind of what what most people need, is that help and accountability and coach.
Yes.
So that's really cool. Really exciting to see what you guys have done in just a year too, with that program itself. Um, so, as a coach, what has been the biggest barrier, though, that you've seen that prevents people from creating better financial independence for themselves?
Great question. The overarching biggest barrier really is mindset issue.
Hmm.
At the same time, there are multiple layers to that. And each person can have a different type of mental block than others.
Hmm.
So, for example, we have some members that are very impulsive, spend lots of money, shop on Amazon all the time, don't know where their money's going, right? Then we have other members who are incredibly frugal. They
Hmm.
barely spend money on themselves. And some of
Yeah.
them have been investing and understand the importance of investing.
Hmm.
At the same time, those two ends of the spectrum, both of
Yeah.
them aren't necessarily ideal. You
Right.
do need to learn how to spend money intentionally
Hmm.
and understand where your money is going and figure out why you are working on your financial goals. Not just, oh, so that I can retire one day. Well, what is your goal? Is your goal to retire early if you want to? Is your goal to eventually pursue other type of entrepreneurship and
Hmm.
businesses in the future? We also get limiting beliefs with mindset, meaning
Yeah.
that many of our members don't think they can accomplish big things too. They
Yeah.
feel as though they're new grads. They
Hmm.
don't feel like they have the confidence to accomplish big things. We get
Hmm.
a lot of mindset issues that surround perfectionism, and
Hmm.
that can lead to procrastination for a lot of people. For
Yeah.
example, a lot of people
Hmm.
are waiting for the perfect time to get started. They don't want to
Yeah.
get started right now because it's the holiday season or New
Yeah.
Year's right around the corner or they have a trip
Uh-huh.
coming up. Well,
Yeah.
newsflash, there's always going to be holidays, there's always going to be a trip coming up. There is no perfect time to get started
Hmm.
with your finances. We get a
Yeah.
lot of people that have trouble with time management, and we
Hmm.
have a lot of information about time management. They feel too busy. They feel like they can't implement any of the changes we recommend. They feel as though
Yeah.
everyone else is controlling their life instead of them controlling their life and their time. We all have the same amount of time within a day and within a week. So, recognizing that they need to be able to control and set boundaries with people too.
Mhm,
So, talk about boundary setting, whether that's with
mhm,
time or in other ways. A lot of times, boundary setting can be surrounding the workplace as a PA too, learning how to set boundaries with
mhm,
your staff, with your coworkers, those type of things as well. And then again, it can come down to, for a lot of people, ultimately not knowing what they want for their future and just feel as though they're getting by day and feeling stuck for a lot of people too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that covers like a lot of different things and a lot of barriers.
Yes. So common though, right? Everyone has struggled with many of those things, right?
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. I was like, I think everyone has come across some aspect of every single one of those things across their lifespan at some point in time. But yeah, I think like, the ones that are afraid to start the new thing or just feeling like they have the insecurity of even like trying to have a better financial health. And I think a lot of people, have that mindset of even just, well, my parents worked so hard every day and just, this is what we've seen from examples and this is how things were done. Or just, even coming from working in the nonprofit sectors and in global development and all, that it can be a poverty mindset too, just thinking like, well, I'm just not from that background, or I'm just not from that level. So will I ever be able to make it in the same way? And
Johanna,
that's like something huge.
You've hit on so many things with that. It's so true, where it depends on your background, depends on your childhood, depends upon what you have seen modeled for you through whether it's your parents or other authority figures or other mentors throughout your life. So much of our money thoughts and beliefs happen in childhood, which is kind of scary to think about for people who have their own kiddos or, again, nieces and nephews and things like that. Yeah. So I encourage people to work on their finances, but then think about what they want to start teaching their kiddos too. They don't want to be teaching their kiddos that money is always this limited resource. That's not great. But then you also don't want to be teaching them, oh, hey, you can spend all the money. It's never ending. It's okay. That's not great either. You need to figure out what that balance is. And also with that too, Sammy is a first gen PA as well. So we do work with so many first gens, and they really can have, especially that poverty mindset too, where parents were immigrants and they've seen them work really, really hard from the time that they were really young until now. And they think that that's how life needs to be. They have to work really hard to make money, and that there isn't a disconnect from time and money. And ultimately, that's what we encourage with investing and, again, businesses, entrepreneurship down the road, is that you learn that you don't have to work many, many hours a week to make a decent amount of money. Instead, you can learn eventually to set yourself up to work fewer hours a week to make more money.
Yeah. Yeah, it's huge. I have a little 4-year-old. So it's, we're trying to, figure out how to encourage her to be financially wise when she grows older, even though she's only 4, but we've heard how, to teach kids at this age, even to, give, to share, to invest, to understand the concept of, money. And it's just not to buy toys all the time.
Yes, right? The piles of toys.
But yeah, it's like so tricky though, because you don't understand exactly what they're picking up and how they're implementing it. But that's like such a pivotal point in their life where, you're saying that it's in their childhood that they see the importance and how to earn money, live, and grow in their, I guess, journey of financial independence, which is kind of scary.
Totally. But it's also okay to have grace with yourself, right? It takes time to learn it for yourself, and it's going to take time to be able to figure out how you want to teach your kids and
Mm-hmm.
how you want to help them versus have them learn and understand things themselves. And it's
Mm-hmm.
okay that it can take time with that process. You don't have to feel like you have to do this overnight by any means.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, how does one become work optional sooner?
Great question. Let's talk a little bit about definitions because definitions can look differently from one person that you're talking to another person.
Mm-hmm.
The definitions that I use are very commonly within the financial independence community. They're very commonly
Mm-hmm.
used. They're not necessarily my own by any means.
Uh-huh.
So, work optional, I consider to be the point where you don't have to work if you do
Yeah.
not want to work.
Mm-hmm.
So, it really is the point where work is optional for your life. And for financial independence, that point is when you have 25 times your annual expenses invested,
Mm-hmm.
because it really is a math issue. And what the issue is with many retirement calculators out there is
Yeah.
they try to calculate based on your income.
Mm-hmm.
Well, retirement doesn't have anything to do with the amount of money you make. It really has to do with the amount of money you need to spend to live.
Right.
So it
Mm-hmm.
really has to do with your expenses. So 25 times your annual expenses invested,
Mm-hmm.
because those investments can grow over the years.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you want to retire really early, then
Mm-hmm.
30 to 33 times your annual expenses is a safer number to use. There's
Mm-hmm.
something called the Trinity study that was done, and the 25 times the annual expenses lasted for about 30 years, very conservatively for most people. So if you want to retire, 50 years earlier or something than what you were thinking, then
Yeah.
you do need more invested as well. But how do
Yeah.
you get to that point? You get to
Mm-hmm.
that point by lowering your costs. You need to figure out where your money is going, figuring out where you could potentially cut costs. Again, we don't want you to live on ramen noodles and ride your bike to work and be super frugal, but figuring out, is what you're spending your money on aligned with your goals for your life? Are you spending your money intentionally on those things that you value? Who cares
Mm-hmm.
what your parents value for you or society values for you? What is it that you value for your life?
Mm-hmm.
Besides lowering costs, you also need to increase your income. And that can be done through negotiation, whether you
Mm-hmm.
negotiate in your current role or potentially job search and find another role that you negotiate. We
Mm-hmm.
encourage our WealthRx members to actually not pick up a lot of extra PA shifts because we
Yeah.
feel as though that's actually a recipe for burnout. And
Exactly.
again, where is your time going if you're just picking up extra shifts in medicine?
Yeah.
If you do
Mm-hmm.
want to work extra, consider things outside of medicine or different types of roles. And then you
Mm-hmm.
also need to invest aggressively. And investments can look like your traditional retirement accounts, taxable brokerage accounts, real estate investing, maybe some crypto. Maybe you are investing in things like entrepreneurship or businesses, but
Mm-hmm.
it's lowering your costs, increasing your income, and investing the difference overall.
Yeah. How do you advise people to find out how to get into those different ways of investing, or in of course their employment, 401ks,
Yeah.
IRAs, etc., those, or other options, that how do you advise people to learn about how to find these things?
Yeah, we have within the WealthRx program, we have the WealthRx course that talks about the traditional retirement accounts, making sure you're getting
Mhm.
your full employer match, maxing out your Roth IRA, HSA if you have one, maxing out
Mhm.
your 401k or similar type of account as well. And above and beyond that, that's when you can consider other options. Taxable brokerage account is very similar to those traditional retirement accounts, but there's not as many tax advantages, but it's easy, right? It's just
Mhm.
putting money in there. You're not having to think about it. You pick a low cost broad based index fund and call it good for the day. Crypto can still be pretty passive. You need to decide, is your risk tolerance there for crypto? Because it
Yeah.
can be definitely up and down with
Yeah.
the amount. At the same time, if
Mhm.
you look historically, it's been going up quite a bit. And
Mhm.
then real estate investing, a lot of people believe that real estate investing can be quite passive. If you talk to a lot of people, especially getting started with real estate investing, you'll understand that it is quite active to get started.
Yes.
So it can
Mhm.
take a lot of time and energy, and you need to decide, can you devote that time and energy to starting real estate investing, whether it's one property or whether you start building up a portfolio and then implementing systems with property managers and cleaners if you're doing more of the short-term rental and figuring out what type of real estate investing. So we have some coaches that do invest in real estate investing. And we also recommend other great resources out there, such as Bigger Pockets, if people are interested in real estate investing too. So we talk about the different options and figure out what people have interest in, what people have time for, what people have passion for. And then eventually, some people are considering, again, entrepreneurship businesses down the road, figuring out what that can look like for you. And again, figuring out what goes into that too.
Yeah. And the most important thing about this is you're teaching people to be able to do it themselves so that they're building the skill sets to help themselves, right?
Yes.
And that's so key because sometimes we rely on others so much, but we have to be able to build these skills on our own and take the time to learn.
So true.
So, how do you empower women in their finances? Like, what is there something specific you focus on to empower women? Or
Yeah, great question. We work with a lot of women in our WealthRx program because many PAs are women for sure. We do have a few guys in our program too, and we have a male coach, which has been great as well. So there are some guys in our program too, as well, if you're thinking about it. But what we find for women, and at least I'll talk about my personal story, was when my husband and I first got married, he paid all the bills. So I thought he was the one managing our finances, right? And it's so funny to think about now because he's totally not into managing finances or money or figuring out where your money is going or any of that. He was simply writing the checks to pay the bills and setting things up. And I just thought he was the one, leading the household and managing the finances. Well, what we encourage all of our PA members to do is really to take control of their own finances, like you mentioned. Not expect your spouse to be the one doing it unless you guys have had a thorough conversation about it. And if they are the one doing that anyway, you still need to be understanding what's going on. You still need to be able to have those discussions and educated conversations about, do you agree with what's going on? Do you understand what's going on? Do you suggest other changes to figure out what's best for you guys? And also going back to our story too, when I was on a PA rotation, one of the PA preceptors recommended a financial advisor for us. So we started working with a financial advisor right out of PA school. And unfortunately, he told us a lot of incorrect information, such as spend lots of money on whole life insurance, which we did not need, and not max out our retirement accounts, and not pay off our debt quickly, and just really poor financial advice over the years too. So once I learned about the financial independence community that teaches about how you really need to manage your own finances and not rely on a lot of financial investors. Some of them can be really great, but a lot of them are really just there to try to sell you products and make money for themselves instead of have your best interest in mind. So you need to figure out this information so that you can evaluate a conversation and a decision and understand that you're the only person that really can have your best financial interest in mind compared to everyone else in your life, whether, again, it's loved ones, parents, friends, sisters, brothers, anything like that too. And we also love talking about how if you can become a PA, you can learn A&P, you can learn OChem, you can learn all the different things that comes with practicing pharmacology, those really hard concepts. You can totally learn financial topics. It really is not that difficult. It's a lot easier than becoming a PA. So you can learn about tracking your finances and investing, the different types of accounts out there. And even if you find it kind of boring, I don't, I'm a huge nerd, but if you find it kind of boring, then learn it enough so that you understand how to automate it and then be hands off for the future. So invest some time and energy and get yourself set up for the future as well. The other thing I like to share about women investors is that they actually are better investors than men. So if you go and take a listen to episode 109 on my podcast, PA the FI Way, I talk about 5 reasons why women tend to be better investors actually than men. So it's just another reason why I encourage women to take their own finances into their control and understand what's going on overall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so key because, if we rely on just the other person, like I mentioned before, then, you're not communicating anyways in marriage. It's a partnership.
Yes.
You're contributing, here's contributing. Then why not contribute together and like discuss together and, work together? But I mean, that's, that's, and then it's interesting how you mentioned women are better investors than men.
Yep.
Exactly. So how is that exactly?
Yeah, I definitely recommend you go take a listen to the episode about all the different reasons.
Yeah.
But a couple of reasons are that women, they don't tend to jump at the newest, hottest, latest type of investment out there. Whereas men can be more inclined to want to make money more quickly and be less patient, and men can be a little bit more impulsive with those investment decisions. And then women also, they are pretty good about just being patient and letting their investments ride out over the years, whereas men like to tinker with their investments and, let's sell now and let's buy this and make a lot of changes.
Okay.
It really truly comes down to being a lazy investor. When you get your investments set up and automated, you can be lazy and hands off and not mess with things and let it ride. And that can make you a great investor. You don't have to feel like you have to make lots of changes or figure out what the next hottest type of investment is out there.
Yeah, that's very true. Very interesting. So kind of shifting the discussion a little bit, because you do have a tele-psych medicine practice. So, talking about finances, and now, you're also a psychiatry PA. What has been the most important thing you have learned about anxiety and depression? And how do you help patients who experience this?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really great question. It's definitely very loaded because I can't say that there's just one important thing for anxiety and depression by any means, but a few top things come to mind. The first is definitely don't underestimate lifestyle, meaning I always encourage making sure that there's good nutrients, that they're nourishing their minds and their bodies with great foods, that there's movement, whether it's weights, yoga, any form of exercise that they enjoy doing is great for their mental health, and making sure that their sleep is optimized too. Really those building blocks of physical and mental health too, right? Your mental health isn't going to be great if you are eating a bunch of junk food, hardly sleeping, and not moving and being very sedentary. So reminding people of that. And I also like to talk about too, my clinic being a more holistic, integrated mental health clinic, I've really appreciated because myself and my PA colleague, we have the luxury to be able to spend more time with our patients, and we get to talk about things that aren't just prescription medications. So can talk about how there's various supplements that can help with mental health, different forms of magnesium, vitamin D, fish oil. There's different probiotics that are psychobiotics, meaning that they've been found to help with mental health symptoms too. Also thinking about being trauma informed in the sense of asking about trauma with our patients too over time, because a lot of quote unquote depression, anxiety symptoms can really relate to current or past trauma and be more so PTSD instead of generalized anxiety or major depressive disorder. And then always thinking about too, if there is underlying bipolar disorder before you're implementing treatment with medications, because SSRIs, SNRIs, other antidepressants, they can be triggering for mania for some bipolar patients too. So making sure that you're more thorough with some of the screening and the questions to ask. And within my clinic, I love that we have a collaborative approach because we have not only mental health therapists, but we also have dietitians. We have occupational therapists, and they help with helping patients with ADHD symptoms in their life, both at home and at work, which makes total sense if you think about it. But I feel like we weren't taught that in school. And then also OT for chronic pain, because that relates so much with your mental health too. We have acupuncture. So I really like how mental health, and again, physical health too, because they correlate so much with each other, can be viewed more holistically than often what we're trained for
Yeah.
throughout our first part of our training as PAs.
That's wow, a fantastic practice. I really am amazed at that because you don't really hear a lot of that holistic approach even with mental health. But yet that's exactly what you need, and it
Yeah.
seems so common sense to go that way and have so many avenues to help the patient holistically than one simple way is what we're as we're taught, you know.
Yes.
um, I love that, and I really am amazed at how you're, um, doing that practice, and it's an integrative practice. So with a whole lot of other providers and people involved, that's amazing. Especially given how I love that you are so holistic in your way of thinking with finances, with your actual practice of medicine, so you're really living out exactly what you believe in.
Yeah.
Exact too.
Yeah.
Because it's true. I mean, thinking about anxiety and depression, I feel like it seems so commonplace now. Everyone is, has faced certain different difficulties and things in their life. And, um, mental health is such an important topic. And given all the new news. I mean, just even in the recent weeks, with several school shootings, parents, you know, worried about their children
Yeah.
and facing so many difficulties, and so I feel like it's as you said, I mean, it is not a one trick pony. It is a holistic approach of how to deal with this and allowing our ourselves the grace and understanding that there are so many different factors in helping other people's mental health and the issues that are going on, right?
For sure. For sure.
um, and then finances often create that load of anxiety as well. And so in your coaching program, like, how do you advise clients um, in regards to alleviating that anxiety when they're trying to increase their investing, or letting go of their money
Yeah.
into investments, not just
Yes.
on shopping.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And you're definitely right with that statement. Finances can create so much anxiety, stress, overwhelm, depression for some, so many
Mhm.
feelings surrounding money, whereas money
Mhm.
really is just a tool. It
Yeah.
it doesn't have to come with all of this mental stress and overwhelm. But you're
Mhm.
right. And what I want to talk about is how you really can choose your own stress. You can choose your own
Mhm.
hard. If
Mhm.
people are living paycheck to paycheck, that is stressful and that is
Mhm.
hard. Learning about finances initially can feel stressful and hard for some,
Mhm.
but it's what needs to be done. It's the work that needs to be done to help get you out of your other state of stress and your other state of overwhelm.
Right.
So, figuring out where your money is going, that can be very
Mhm.
eye-opening. We have our members track their finances.
Mhm.
And also, it can be depressing when you think about all those financial mistakes that you've been making over the years.
Mhm.
I always like to normalize that it is just so common that everyone has made financial mistakes. And it's okay. You can feel bad about it for a moment, but recognize that you can't go back and change the past, and you can only change your future. And you
Yeah.
absolutely can change your future.
Mhm.
So there is not one person out there that I have ever met that has done everything optimally with their finances over the years.
Yeah.
It's okay to have those regrets. It's okay to recognize that there were mistakes and understand that you can learn from them,
Mhm.
understand that it's common, and understand that you can make the changes to impact your future and the future of whoever you want to help down the road, whether it's your kids, whether it's other family members, whether it's
Mhm.
complete strangers, whether it's you want to start a nonprofit like you have. there are so many different types of things that you can do for the future and in the future when you build your wealth. It's not a selfish thing. I think a lot of people think about how becoming wealthy, building your wealth, becoming quote unquote rich, that it can on the surface seem selfish. But when you're really thinking about the impact and the changes that you want to make in the world, it really can be very selfless. And again, going back to figuring out what you want for your future and how you want to make an impact down the road.
Exactly. Yeah, I think sometimes we hold on to this whole thing where, money is uh, greedy, money is bad, it's all negative, right? Yet it is a tool. I like that word, tool, for freedom, tool to impact others, a tool to live and sustain. Um, and learning to let go of that negative thought about it also helps. But also, yeah, I love that. It's choose your heart, choose what you want to struggle through to get to the other side, right?
Yeah.
Struggle through all your life, or struggle through temporarily to learn to create a better future for you and your family, to get to something better, hopefully.
Yeah.
And that's, with everything in life, is choose your hard. What are you going to choose to feel hard,
Yeah.
versus also even trying to think of something positively. I don't know why I'm thinking about, like, even like going through cancer with my husband, you choose to either just be depressed about the situation, or, like, okay, this is our life and difficulty, or you choose to be like, well, we'll go through this, overcome it, and, keep, living and doing what we can do, and, choosing to change your mindset, right? I think that's what it all comes down to. And I know it's never as simple as that. And there's a lot of things that people have to go through, get through, and think about. But as your whole WealthRx program is, it's shifting those mindsets, right? And I
Yeah.
think a lot of life journeys is also kind of a learning to have different perspectives and ways to looking at life, and to overcome the challenges that we face, right?
For sure. Yeah, it can be really challenging to go through those hardships.
Hmm.
And it can also bring people closer together too when
Exactly.
there are hardships as well that you've
Hmm.
been through either alone or separate or
Hmm.
together. And it's tough when you have them, but there can be good that can come out of them over
Yeah.
time, even
Hmm.
though the process can be really challenging for a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what the life is. It's a journey, it's a process, and it's never going to be easy. And we have to just um, learn what we can to get out of it, what we can learn to get out of it, and what we can grow. And as you said, get closer to the people that surround us. And
Yeah.
hopefully that'll make things a lot more beautiful along the way.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, and I guess that's what we were just talking about, is like, what ways we can make those perspective changes and mindset shifts in regarding finances. And I know you've touched on a little bit of that.
Yeah. Yeah, there are definitely a few different ones that are common to work on for a lot of people too. So, one is
Hmm.
shifting from scarcity mindset,
Hmm.
meaning that you feel as though money is scarce and hard to come by. So, a lot of
Hmm.
our members come into the program with hoarding a giant amount in their savings, and
Hmm.
that money is not serving them as great tools just sitting there. And
Yeah.
instead, shifting it to that of abundance, meaning let's get the money working for them. And
Hmm.
also that money does not have to feel like this really hard thing to come by in life
Hmm.
too, that it is out there for you to eventually get. You just need to figure out the how to be able to do that
Hmm.
as well. And understanding that guilt and shame are so common feelings when it comes to finances, but you
Hmm.
can't dwell there. You have to understand, feel it, but then move on and make those changes too. Have grace with yourself as you're making those changes. As we talked about, many of what you believe about money comes from your childhood. So it's really challenging to make a shift and make a change within a month or two. Many of our members start feeling discouraged when they're tracking their finances and wondering why they're still overspending after a month or two. And it's like, remember, you've been doing this for 20 to 30 plus years. It's going to take time to make some of those changes over time, and to remind yourself to have some patience and grace, and to always try to find that balance between being impulsive and YOLO and being super, super frugal. You need to find the balance in the middle of what works well for you too, and figuring out how you want to spend your money on. For many, that can be experiences over stuff, activities with your loved ones. It could be exploring the world, and it could be buying back your time. I think about a lot of the moms out there. Maybe they love to spend their money on having a cleaner, someone helping with grocery shopping or cooking or other things like that, where they're choosing to spend their money to buy back more of their time so that they can choose what they want to do with their time. Because time is life's most precious, non-renewable resource. You don't get any more time back in your life. So you need to make sure that you feel like you're spending it wisely.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what advice would you give to those, or ways to encourage those who are struggling in their finances?
Yeah. What I encourage people to do is to actually do something. Get out of the phase of analysis paralysis, meaning that you're just thinking and you're having those swirling thoughts. And again, some of that anxiety. Action really does create clarity. So you need to take action and do something to get control of your finances, whether it's just one thing, whether it's listening to some podcast episodes, whether it's reading a book, whether it is signing up for a course or a program. You need to make sure that you're doing something. If you don't like where you're at, remind yourself that you are in control of your life. You can be empowered to make those changes. And you really need to get out of the fear and actually start with looking at your finances. That part is so scary for many people, where they feel like they don't know where their money is going. But you need to get out of that and actually take a good hard look at where your money is going. And you can either do this alone. Some people can be successful doing that alone, or you can do it with support. You can decide how you want to tackle this and how you want to learn this overall.
Yeah. And not to give up, because things do take time.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, long-term investing is time, right? That's what helps with that anyways. And what are some final words of advice you would give to those who want to make changes in their financial health? I know that kind of can go with that, but
I really like to remind PAs, other healthcare providers out there, anyone else listening to the podcast, maybe your PA spouse sent you this episode or something like that. I like to remind that your financial health really impacts and affects so many other types of your health and wellness. So your financial health, we touched on this a little bit already. It affects your mental health. It can affect your physical health. People who are living in poverty, they tend to have more chronic health conditions too. Having good financial health can impact your social health. Your social health can impact your financial health. Your emotional health can be impacted by your financial health, and your spiritual health can be impacted too. So it really can be a great foundational area to work on to try to help with all those other areas of health that are just beyond the physical health or mental health that we think of traditionally working in medicine. And reminding those that are thinking about this that you can become a PA millionaire if you're ready to do the work. Understand that it's not super, super easy, but it can be easy if you do the work. And also thinking about your why. Why is it that you're wanting to make changes? Why is it that you're wanting to build your wealth? And that why needs to be strong so that you can feel confident to make those changes for your future.
yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Katarina. This has been such an amazing episode, just full of a lot of good wisdom. And I hope that you guys actually take the time to listen to PA the FI Way. It's full of amazing podcasts, and she's been doing it for quite some time. So there's tons and tons of episodes for you guys to listen to. And so definitely make your way over to all the podcast platforms to listen to Katarina and learn for yourself on how to be financially independent. That can also spark hope wherever you are, wherever your families, your communities. The more secure in your health, financial health, physical health, mental health, as we talked about, the more you're able to spark hope wherever you are. And we hope that you can and will do that. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Katarina. Thank you for listening. Hope to see you guys next week too.
Thanks so much for having me, Johanna. I really appreciate being here. I really appreciate all that you're doing as well. And for those listening, I encourage you to check out the information in the show notes. There's some links in there with some great information. Thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Medicine, Motherhood, Missions. We hope you found inspiration, insight, and a sense of connection in the stories we shared today. If you've enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us reach more listeners like you. Follow us on Instagram for updates, free downloads, and to join a community of like-minded individuals passionate about making a difference through medicine, motherhood, and mission work. Remember, you're not alone in this journey. Until next time, keep sparking hope, keep healing, keep nurturing, and keep making a difference. This is Johanna signing off from Medicine, Motherhood, Missions. The medical opinions expressed on this podcast are for the informational purposes only and should not be considered as medical advice. Always consult a licensed healthcare provider for personal medical questions or concerns. The views expressed by guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of the podcast host.